So I was racing motorcycles, and at a race, a buddy of mine had a crash, okay, and I remember stopping and helping the medics. And it was actually the Southern Nevada Volunteer First Aid and Rescue. I was helping him bandage this, open leg wound, and I was thinking, man, this is pretty interesting. It's pretty cool, So at the time, I was working at my dad's A&W.
The only place you'll find A&W root beer is at A&W. And it's the only place you'll meet the 4 delicious members of the burger family: Papa Burger, Mama Burger, Teen Burger, and Baby Burger.
I was a cook, and I was like, hey, I could do that. So I talked with one of the EMTs, okay, whose son races, motorcycles. And so I talked to her, and she told me how to, do community college. And so as soon as I graduated high school, I enrolled in summer session, for an EMT class, with Norma Cleveland. That's how it started. So then I get out of EMT school, and so I don't know if you guys remember Jim Abraham. Jimmy and I were in the same class. So we ended up going over to Mercy, but I was a lot younger. I was 3 years younger than Jim. So when I went in, I remember meeting Tom Church. Tom hands me this paper that says you got to be 20 years old, you have to have 6 months experience and all this stuff. So then I started questioning, well, how do you get the experience if you don't have a job? So, and I kind of pushed a bit, ended up getting in front of Bob, and Bob was like, all right, I'll tell you what. He goes, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you this, I had this form or paper that I could go get a uniform. And, he goes, we have a night car, because at that time they were doing 48-hour shifts. And then they had the night car, from 12 to 8. He says, you can show up here. If they let you ride with them, then you can ride with them. So the first 2 that I met were Scotty Brower and Rick Lindquist. So rode with those guys, and, and they taught me a ton. And, so I was riding, just volunteering my time, and then all of a sudden, Bob says, okay, I'm going to give you a shot. And it was the old Code 2 car. And so from there, I kept going. And then Bob tried to get me into the paramedic school, and they wouldn't take me because I wasn't 21. So, he did sponsor me, didn't pay for it, but he sponsored me to go to Freeman. From Freeman, it was Brent and Paul, and those, and that's how, I knew about Freeman, because, those guys had gone there. I believe Ralph went there as well. So Ralph Gillian, so these guys were, they were my mentors as well, that I went there. Some of my other mentors, Maddie, I was scared to death of her, okay? So I remember being scheduled with her for the first time, and I was an EMT at the time, and I was scared to death, right? Because, I used to see her come, grumbling in, and I can tell you that she just took me under her wing. Both her and Dan, and just, everybody really did. I remember Paul kind of gave me a hard time when I was an EMT, a little bit, but you know what? Everybody just kind of just took me in. And it was funny because then Paul became my partner for quite a long time. So he was one of the best guys I ever worked with. Delivering a baby in old 85 Suburban to Sahara and the Boulevard. That, and then there was just numerous, Hilton Fire, one of the big things. I was in paramedic school for the MGM fire. I remember when Flight for Life first started, and we tried to race to Gene, trying to beat him in one of the old Suburbans, which we did. And but it was just numerous calls. I'll tell you, one that really stood out was when I was an EMT. My first time I did CPR, okay? And I remember this lady, she was in the gutter, and she was a GI bleed, okay? And I remember we're doing CPR, and I'm kind of timid, all right? And I remember Scotty Brower saying, you got to pump, man. You got to really, I want to hear ribs cracking. And we do. You hear this cracking, and you're kind of going, wow. He goes, now you're doing it right. Because at first, you just don't know that. And, you can do so well in class, but you don't know anything until you're out there and working it. That's the real learning, and that's held true through my entire career.